What's up, Splice? My name is Danny DeChacho. I sing and produce music as Kiyosi, and today I'm here to show you how to get started using Ableton Live Lite and Splice to make a beat. So we've layered some loops, we've started a drum rack, imported some sounds into that drum rack, and today we're going to use a native piece of Ableton to get started making a melody. So in order to get started making a melodic track, I'm going to go up here to Create, Insert MIDI Track, which you can see adds a MIDI track to the DAW. And then I'm going to go over here and shop around for what I want to populate that MIDI track with. So I've chosen this glass piano in advance. So I'm just going to click it, drag over to this MIDI track, drop it right in that space, and it's going to become glass piano. So same thing as I did with the drum rack. I'm going to double click inside of here. What does it bring up? My piano roll. So I can expand the left side of the piano roll by hovering over it. This magnifying glass appears. I click down using my mouse, scroll to the right, and now I can actually see the piano. So I can see that this is a C, C sharp, D, etc. That's what I want. Before we get into the idea of minor keys, let's start with the basics. Identifying the pitches on the keyboard. Melodies, chords, and everything else that's tonal in nature are made up of a combination of pitches that are named using the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A through G. And these repeat endlessly. Once you release G, the following letter is another A, and so on and so on. So if I go into my piano roll here, which is done by clicking into any MIDI track, I get this keyboard that pops up on the left-hand side. I'm going to zoom in a little bit by grabbing that side and pulling to the right when I see the magnifying glass. So I'm also going to give us a little bit more space here. On the keyboard, here's the C, here's the D, E, F, G. But you'll notice that I skipped a lot of these black keys, which are imperative. So these notes in between are, instead of using a whole new set of alphabetical letters to name them, we identify the black keys in relation to their neighbors. So the black key immediately to the right of a white key receives its letter plus what we call a sharp. So stay with me. If this is a C, this black key is a C sharp. Then the next black key above a D, so right here's our D, the next black key above that is a D sharp. At the same time, the black key immediately to the left, or in this case below a white key, receives its letter plus what we call a flat. So if we start with a G, which we'll say is here, right? The next black key below that is going to be a G flat or an F sharp. So these black keys have dual names depending on where you're going. Now, if I'm in the piano roll, it's generally going to stick to sharps. But just know that if you see in another DAW a flat, which is the sign of like a lowercase b, it's because it's indicating that we're going down the scale versus a sharp that's going up. So if you were going down the scale, you would say this note, which is here listed as C sharp, is actually a D flat because I'm going 1 down. Flat is going down, sharp indicates going up. All that's to say they're the same note. C sharp and D flat are always going to sound like this. While we won't get too deep into it in this video, just note that the key is what tells us whether we should call a note by its sharp or flat version. Which brings me back to the idea of keys. To put it really simply, keys basically help us identify a handful of notes that our music will mainly rely on, which naturally sound good together. When we say we're in the key of A minor, that means we're just using notes in the A minor scale, which starts on A and then goes to B and continues all the way through the scale. And that's an A minor scale. You always have the option to sprinkle in some other notes to spice things up. The key of A minor keeps us using just the white keys by default, which is really convenient when you're just getting started. But you can always add in some other things, see what feels good, and trust your ear. If it sounds good to you, it's likely going to sound good to someone else. I know that I'm in the key of A minor. This loop that I chose has an A minor label on it. I can hear that. I'm going to give myself a little more room with the piano roll right now. And I know an A minor chord is an A, C natural, and E. So let's start with that. C natural. And as a melody, I don't need these to happen all at once, right? A melody is generally a singular note, sort of either singing or sort of doing its own thing. Ba, ba, ba. Bum. Da, 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 da. I want to give myself a little bit of room. I can highlight all of this stuff. Scooch it over to the beginning of the sort of second part of that measure. Bum, dun, da, da, dum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ding. Same thing up top. I can go in here. That bracket appears. Loop, 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 loop. Dum. I'm going to adjust the velocity again. Sounding like a little bit Unsolved Mysteries-ish, which I don't totally mind, because part of Doomsday involves not knowing. Okay, cool. Right now it's all on the grid. That means it's ba, 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 da, 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 da. I'm going to move it a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in. Right now I'm just taking my mouse and zooming all the way in. And I'm just going to take this out of starting exactly on that beat because it's starting to sound like a little bit programmed for me. Yeah, even that just has like a softer feel to it. I'll do it over here too. And maybe this one I'll actually make happen a little bit before. Let's see what that sounds like. And if I want this to go longer, let's say I want it to be a half note. 4, 2, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to stop here. My loop is still enabled. Let's take that off because this melody, I don't really want it to loop. I'm going to minimize this a little bit. And let's say I want my melody to come in sort of midway through this track that I've got going. Let's hear what we've got. 1, 2, 1, 2, ba, dum. Cool. And that's it. I don't really want it to keep looping. I just want to kind of keep making a melody. Da, da, da. Let's start here. Bum, 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 bum. Ba, ba, da, 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 ba, ba, ba. Right? A minor, very easy. And we're going to move these over, give ourselves some space. Same thing. Bum. And I'm going to take these off the grid a little bit. I actually want it to be in the pocket a little bit more. Let's turn the metronome on. Bum, bum, bum. So I mentioned we're in the key of A minor. That means that every note I've put in here so far fits nicely into a certain scale. Let's say, for example, I press this. It's off to me, right? It's outside of the scale. Each of these notes jumps between different intervals, sort of space between that scale. There's a lot of jumps. So, right, leaps are really common in melodies. Da dee da 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 da. That's a leap. Like that's a common sort of arc of a melody. There's different steps. So right now between these two, that's a half step, half step, half step, on and on and on up the scale. Whew. I would highly recommend taking some kind of music theory class. This is so easy. Just get down the basics. Memorize your sharps, memorize your flats and your scales. It will unlock a lot of doors and you can start breaking all of those rules in a more educated way. So as of now, everything is very clearly in A minor. I'm going to go through and add some more notes in here. I'm going to dress it up. I'm going to kind of sing through this melody a little bit and sort of feel out what it might feel like to sit with it and perform it and actually make sure that it feels musical. So lots of time to massage this, turn it into a full-fledged track later on. But for now, grab some software instruments that are native to Ableton, put them in, start programming them in the piano roll, use the velocity, sing along with it, make sure it feels right and that it feels musical and that you can feel where you might build on moving forward. Do that, make some noise, have fun, and I'll see you back here.